Welcome you all, dear students. In this module, I, Dr. Sushma Bevi, will be talking with you about metabolism of carbohydrates in anaerobic conditions. Now let's understand how anaerobic metabolism will work. Anaerobic metabolism is the creation of energy through the combustion of carbohydrates in the absence of oxygen. This occurs when the lungs cannot put enough oxygen into the bloodstream to keep up with the demands from the muscles for energy. It generally used only for short bursts of activity. The two types of anaerobic energy systems mainly includes high energy phosphates, adenosine triphosphate and creatinine phosphate. Secondly, anaerobic glycolysis. The former is called as alactic anaerobic and later lactic anaerobic system. To explain about high energy phosphate, it is stored in limited quantities within muscle cells. Anaerobic glycolysis exclusively uses glucose as a fuel in the absence of oxygen, or more specifically when ATP is needed or at rates that exceeds those provided by aerobic metabolism. The consequences of such rapid glucose breakdown is the formation of lactic acid. Its conjugate base lactate at biological pH levels. Physical activities that last up to about 30 seconds rely primarily on the former. ATP-CP phosphagen system. Beyond this time, both aerobic and anaerobic glycolysis based metabolic systems begin to predominate. Secondly, lactic acid system is a byproduct of anaerobic glycolysis and anaerobic metabolism, both of which occur during strenuous exercise. Although lactic acid is used as a fuel by the heart, excessive lactic acid in your skeletal muscles slows down contractions, preventing you maintain peak performance. When the muscles use anaerobic metabolism, lactic acid is produced in the muscle cells. With moderate intensity exercise, it's able to diffuse out of the cells, but with vigorous muscle contractions, it builds up. As you build up more and more lactic acid, your muscles burn and are fatigued. Often this is felt in activities like weightlifting, but you can reach it when running or race walking at high speed, such as sprinting. You are forced to back off and slow down so your muscles can recover and allow lactic acid to diffuse out of the cells. And it is further processed by the liver into glucose to use for fuel, completing the cycle. By the end of this episode, you will be understand about how the anaerobic metabolism of carbohydrates works in the system, the salient features of glycolysis, fate of pyruvate, fermentation, its advantages and limitations. Students, firstly, now we will learn about formation of ATP by CP reactions. So what is CP reaction? It's a single chemical reaction in which ADP is phosphorylated by transferring a phosphate form, the substance creatine phosphate. CP sometimes also called as phosphocreatinine. The resulting products of these reactions are ATP and creatinine. CK is an enzyme that controls the rate of this reaction. The most common sugar, that is initial substrate for glycolysis, is found to be glucose. And this glucose comes from the blood or in muscle fibers. It can also come from the glycogen stored in the fibers. Glycogen is a large molecule made up of many glucose molecules, and it is the way to store glucose for later use. Muscle fibers can use other sugars, like example fructose, as substrate for glycolysis. But normally the major substrate by far is glucose. Very important point to note here is that glycolysis, which literally means breakdown of glucose, can only use carbohydrate as substrate. Fats and proteins cannot be catabolized via glycolysis. Now we'll know what is glycolysis. It is the breakdown of glucose to pyruvic acid under aerobic conditions and to lactic acid and anaerobic conditions. Now let's see what is anaerobic glycolysis. It is also termed as Embedon-Meyerhof pathway, that is EMP, after the scientist who proposed it. Glycolysis occurs in the cytosol of the cell and is initiated when the ATP level of the cell is low. And this phase is divided into two stages: preparatory phase and energy yielding phase. So in stage 1, that is preparatory phase, one molecule of glucose is converted into two molecules of D-glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Glucose is either cleaved from glycogen molecule or enters the cell individually and is phosphorylated to glucose 6-phosphate by converting ATP to ADP with the help of enzyme hexokinase and glucokinase. The phosphorylation of glucose serves two purposes. Firstly, it makes the glucose molecules more reactive and ready for other reactions. Secondly, because of phosphorylated compounds cannot pass through the cell membrane, phosphorylation keeps the glucose inside the cell. The 6 carbons in glucose 6-phosphate structure need to be rearranged to form fructose 6-phosphate so that it can split into two structures of 3 carbon each. The new compound fructose 6-phosphate is phosphorylated again so that each of the 3 carbon units have a phosphate group attached to them. The conversion of fructose 6-phosphate and fructose 6-diphosphate via phosphofructonase is the primary regulation point of glycolysis. The final step of stage 1 is the splitting of fructose 6-diphosphate into 2 molecules of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. So coming to stage 2, that is energy yielding phase of glycolysis, is mainly designed to liberate inorganic phosphate for the synthesis of ATP and to convert the glyceraldehydes into pyruvate. Glyceraldehyde is oxidized, in other words, a hydrogen atom is removed from it and phosphorylated to produce 1,3-diphosphoglycerate. The NADH carries the hydrogen to the electron transfer system for the production of 3 ATPs. In the next 4 reactions, 4 additional ATPs are synthesized before the final product of glycolysis, that is pyruvate, is formed. The 3-carbon structure of pyruvate has several fates depending upon the energy state of the cell. In anaerobic glycolysis, NADH plus H plus is not oxidized through the electron transport chain. Instead, it is oxidized by lactate dehydrogenase. Hence, there is no production of 6 ATPs, that is, ATPs are produced less in number. So, the number of ATPs produced in anaerobic glycolysis is 4 and the number of ATPs utilized in anaerobic glycolysis is 2. The net gain of ATPs in anaerobic glycolysis is 2 ATPs. Now, let us learn about glycolysis in RBC, which is referred as Raport-Limbering cycle. Erythrocytes metabolize excessive amounts of glucose by the glycolytic pathway. This generates much ATP which is not required and cannot be used by erythrocytes. Thus, if ATP production by substrate phosphorylation is prevented by taking diversion pathway, it will be reduce the production of ATP as well as it supplies 2,3-diphosphoglycerate, which is required for the hemoglobin function, as well as which helps in deloading of oxygens in the tissues. Hence, 1,3-diphosphoglycerate formed in normal glycolysis is not converted to 3-phosphoglycerate. Instead, it takes a bypass route through 2 to 3-diphosphoglycerate. Students, now let us learn about the fate of pyruvate. As we know, pyruvate is an important regulatory point for energy production, and it's the ultimate fate of pyruvate depends on the energy state of the cell and the degree of oxidative phosphorylation takes place. When the energy states of cells is low, pyruvate enters the TCA cycle as acetyl-CoA via the pyruvate dehydrogenase complex and gets oxidized completely to carbon dioxide and water to yield energy. The pyruvate dehydrogenase complex is one of the most complex proteins in the body and consists of more than 60 subunits. When the energy state of the cell is high, the regulator of glycolysis is the enzyme phosphofructokinase, and thus there is limited pyruvate in the cell. However, if pyruvate is present during the time of high energy states such as the liver metabolism of fructose, pyruvate is transformed into acetyl-CoA and is packed as lipid. If oxygen to the cell is limiting, such as during intensive exercise, glycolysis proceeds anaerobically and pyruvate is converted to lactate by the lactate dehydrogenase enzymes. Finally, pyruvate can be converted into amino acids alanine via transformations. Pyruvate dehydrogenase complex is a multi-enzyme complex made up of 3 enzymes. First, pyruvate dehydrogenase, dihydrolipoyl transacetylase and dihydrolipoyl dehydrogenase. This reactions requires 5 coenzymes. First, thiamine pyrophosphate, lipoic acid, coenzyme A, flavin adenine dinucleotide, nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. Acetyl-CoA formed in the above reaction may take part either in its oxidation to carbon dioxide and water through TCA cycle or formation of lipids or synthesis of cholesterol, etc., which depends on the nutritional state of the body and type of the cell where it is formed. Now let us learn about regulation of Krebs cycle or citric acid cycle or TCA cycle. Citric acid cycle, also known as tricarboxylic acid, which is named after the scientist Sir Hans Krebs, who discovered it. He proposed the key elements of this pathway in 1937 and was awarded the Nobel Prize in Medicine for the discovery in 1953. Krebs cycle is a set of continuous reactions with the 8 steps occurring in a cyclic manner in the mitochondrial matrix in eukaryotes and within the cytoplasm in prokaryotes. Acetyl-CoA, the fuel of TCA cycle, enters the citric acid cycle inside the mitochondrial matrix and gets oxidized to carbon dioxide and water, while at the same time reducing NAD to NADH and FAD to FADH2. The NADH and FADH2 can be used by the electron transport system to create ATP. The step 1. The 2-carbon compound acetyl-S-CoA participates in a condensation reaction with the 4-carbon compound oxaloacetate to produce citrate, a 6-carbon compound catalyzed by the enzyme citrate synthase. This is the first stable tricarboxylic acid in the cycle and hence the name TCA cycle. Step 2. Isomerization of citrate. It involves moving the hydroxyl group in the citrate molecule so that it can later form an alpha keto acid. This process involves a sequential dehydration and hydration reactions to form the diisocitrate isomer, with the hydroxyl group now in the desired alpha location with cis aconitase as the intermediate. A single enzyme aconitase performs this 2-step process. Step 3. Generation of carbon dioxide by an NAD linked enzyme. Oxidative decarboxylation takes place in the next reaction. The reaction is catalyzed by the enzyme isocitrate dehydrogenase. The reaction involves dehydrogenation to oxalosuccinate, an unstable intermediate which spontaneously decarboxylates to give alpha ketoglutarate. In addition to decarboxylation, this steps produces a reduced nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide cofactor or a reduced nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide phosphate cofactor. Step 4. A second oxidative decarboxylation. The steps is performed by a multiple enzyme complex, the alpha ketoglutarate dehydrogenation complex. The multi-step reactions performed by the alpha ketoglutarate dehydrogenation complex is analogous to the pyruvate dehydrogenase complex, that is, an alpha keto acid undergoes oxidative decarboxylation with formation of acyl CoA, that is succinyl CoA. Step 5. Substrate level phosphorylation. Succinyl CoA is a high potential energy molecule. The energy used in this molecule is used to form a high energy phosphate bond in a guanine nucleotide diphosphate molecule. Most of the GTP formed is used in the formation of ATP by the action of nucleoside diphosphorkinase. Step 6. Flavin dependent dehydrogenations. The succinate produced by succinyl CoA synthetase in the prior reactions needs to be converted to oxalate to complete the Krebs cycle. The first step in the conversion is the dehydrogenation of succinate to yield fumarate, facilitated by the enzyme succinate dehydrogenase. FAD is covalently bound to the enzyme, which is converted to FADH2, that is oxidized through the ETC producing 2 ATPs. Step 7. Hydration of a carbon-carbon double bond. Fumarate undergoes a stereospecific hydration of CC double bond catalyzed by fumarate hydratase, also known as fumarase, to produce L-malate. Step 8. Dehydrogenation reactions that will regenerate oxaloacetate. L-malate is dehydrogenated to produce oxaloacetate by the enzyme malate dehydrogenase, during which one molecule of NADH is converted to NADH4 plus H plus. The formation of oxaloacetate completes the Krebs cycle. The sum of all reactions in the citric acid cycle is shown as in the screen. The number of ATPs produced in one TCA cycle produces 3 NADH plus H plus and 1 FADH2. These are known as the reducing equivalents. These reducing equivalents are oxidized through the electron transport chain. When NADH is oxidized through ETC, it produces 3 ATPs, and oxidation of NADH2 through ETC produces 2 ATPs. The total number of ATPs produced when glucose is completely oxidized to carbon dioxide and water. So during glycolysis, where 8 ATPs are produced and 2 pyruvate, 2 acetyl CoA and 2 NADH, which equivalents to 6 ATPs production, and 2 cycles of citric acid cycle for 2 acetyl CoA, which equivalents to 24 ATPs productions. Total there will be 38 net ATP productions. These are some reactions that takes place in the cytosol which produce NADH. These NADH have to be oxidized through electron transport chain situated in the inner mitochondrial membrane. NADH is not permeable to the mitochondrial membrane, therefore shuttle systems operate for its transport. The 3 major shuttle mechanisms involved in NADH transport are glycerophosphate shuttle, malate aspartate shuttle, and isocitrate shuttle. Now let's learn other alternative metabolic pathways. HMP pathway or pentose phosphate pathway, exose monophosphate shunt pathway or the HNP pathway is an alternative pathway for glucose oxidation. It neither utilizes or nor produces ATP. The main purpose or significance of this pathway is it produces the reducing equivalents NADPH plus H plus for the synthesis of lipids and keeps glutathione in reduced state in RBC. Secondly, it generates ribose sugars for the formation of nucleic acids. The organs in which HMP pathway occurs are those which are actively concerned with lipid synthesis, like the adipose tissue, kidney, lactating mammary glands, liver, RBC, thyroid, and gonads. It takes place in the cytosol. The steps involved in this pathway are transketolation reaction. transfer of 2-carbon moiety, that is active glyceraldehyde, which is known as transketylation. It is catalyzed by the enzyme transketolase and the coenzyme is thiamine pyrophosphate. In thiamine deficiency, transketolase activity is decreased in blood. Transaldolation reaction. Transfer of 3-carbon moiety, that is active dihydroacetone, which is also known as transaldoadone. It is catalyzed by the enzyme transaldolase. The other alternative pathway, uronic acid pathway. This is a synthetic pathway for the various uronic acids. Its importance is it produces glucuronic acid, which takes part in the detoxification of the bile pigments, phenols, aromatic acids and steroid hormones. Secondly, it provides glucuronic acid and galacturonic acid for the formation of glycoproteins. In lower animals, this pathway leads to synthesis of ascorbic acids. Now let us learn about anaerobic metabolism of carbohydrates by fermentation. So during fermentations, when there is no oxygen present, glycolysis can continue to generate ATP. However, in order for glycolysis to continue to produce ATP, there must be NADH present, which is responsible for oxidizing glucose. And this is achieved by recycling NADH back to NAD+. When NAD+ is reduced to NADH, the electrons from NADH are eventually transferred to a separate organic molecule, transforming NADH back to NAD+. This process of renewing the supply of NAD+ is called fermentation, which falls into two categories. That is alcoholic fermentation, when a glucose molecule is oxidized. Ethanol and carbon dioxide are byproducts. The organic molecule that is responsible for renewing the NAD+ supply in this type of fermentation is the pyruvate from glycolysis. Each pyruvate will release a carbon dioxide molecule, turning into acetaldehyde. The acetaldehyde is then reduced by the NADH produced from glycolysis, forming the alcohol waste product ethanol and forming NAD+, thereby replenishing its supply for glycolysis to continue producing ATP. The next, lactic acid fermentation. During lactic acid fermentation, each pyruvate molecule is directly reduced by NADH. The only byproduct from this type of fermentation is lactate. Lactic acid fermentation is used by human muscle cells as a means of generating ATP during strenuous exercise where oxygen consumption is higher than the supplied oxygen. As this process progresses, the surplus of lactate will be brought to the liver where it will be converted back to pyruvate. The main advantages of forming ATP by anaerobic glycolysis are: it's an anaerobic mechanism and therefore it is not dependent on the oxygen transport system. The maximal power of glycolysis is high, although not as high as maximal power of the CK reactions. That is, ATP can be formed very rapidly via glycolysis, faster than via aerobic metabolism, but not as fast as when CK reaction is operating at its maximum rate. Thirdly, anaerobic glycolysis responds rapidly to a need of ATP. This system can increase to its maximum rate of ATP formation, perhaps instantaneously, but certainly within 10 to 15 seconds. What are the limitations? The limitations of anaerobic glycolysis is that the end product, lactic acid, which causes the cellular environment to become acidic. This can affect many things in the muscle fiber as well as more generally, since the lactic acid will enter the blood and circulate throughout the body. When glycolysis forms ATP at a higher rate, lactic acid is formed at a higher rate also, and this eventually limits glycolysis itself. The capacity of anaerobic glycolysis for forming ATP is 3 to 4 times higher than the capacity of the CK reactions. that is about 3 to 4 times more ATP can be formed by glycolysis than by CK reactions, but it's still relatively low compared to the aerobic metabolisms. Let's sum up this content. Anaerobic glycolysis is a series of about 10 chemical reactions by which a 6-carbon sugar molecule is broken down first to 2 3-carbon pyruvic acid molecules and then to 2 3-carbon molecules of lactic acid. In certain reactions in this series, ATPs is actually used, and in other reactions ATPs is formed. When ATPs is formed, energy originally stored in the sugar molecules and is transferred to ATP molecule. The net result is formation of 2 or 3 ATPs for each glucose converted to lactic acid. Anaerobic glycolysis is involved in muscular activities that last for as short a period as a few minutes with high energy demand, where aerobic metabolism is not adequate for the energy requirements. This process takes place in the cytoplasm, and despite the rapid ATP synthesis, anaerobic glycolysis is less efficient than aerobic glycolysis. The lactic acid end product of anaerobic energy metabolism is associated closely with the performance and duration of exercise. The formation of ATP anaerobically is, however, takes place at a high cost. Oxidation of one molecule of glucose results in a net yield of only 2 molecules of ATP, and increased lactic acid production can hamper the function of neuromuscular junctions, muscle fibers themselves, cells of the connective tissues, and also vessels, but it also stimulus for adaptive changes in the metabolism, which are an important element in the training, for example for sports. Students, in this episode you have learnt about the anaerobic metabolism of carbohydrates, how it works in the system.